I am not afraid of them. I don't need to declare them anything. I can answer them. Now, that the European Union has now gone down to the detail of deciding for us which entity gets a franchise or not, just goes to show that they have descended to the level of stupidity. I mean,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Villapuerte, pakituloy na po ang iyong linyada ng pagtatanong.
Yeah, I would like to direct this question to the Honorable Secretary. Mr. Chair, what is his opinion on the recent statement of the European Parliament with regards to Maria Ressa case and the granting of ABS-CBN franchise? I feel strongly that this is an infringement on our sovereignty. This is an interference on domestic matters. What is his opinion, and as a follow-up, what he intends to do based on this, I think, unacceptable action by the European Parliament, Mr. Chair?
Secretary?
first, I think we should better check what is the context of that. Remember, you're reading this from Rappler. What I do know, to give you an example, over a year ago, there was a forum in London. And I was invited to go to that forum on media, or on social media. And I had a part in that. But for some reason, I couldn't go. And instead, well, of course, the Rappler people went, and everybody who hates Duterte went. And then what they did was hijack it and make it seem as if the whole meeting in London was all about the problems of Rappler and all the enemies of President Duterte. In fact, that social media forum was a forum on what we are undoubtedly number one in. It was a forum on child pornography. We are the biggest in the world in that awful industry. That's what it was about. But did you read anything about that? No, because the spin given to that forum by the enemies of Duterte made it seem that it was all about us, when it wasn't. Now I want to check what exactly happened, because I get from some of my sources in the media that they didn't spend that much time on that. Maybe in a forum like that, if you are with ABS-CBN, you can insert that concern. If you are with Rappler, you can insert that concern.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair,
in relation lang, DSL, in relation lang. Mr. Chairman,
sandali lang.
relation din, pare, may relation din sa ano.
Mr. Chair,
Vice Chairman Villapuerte.
Mr. Chair, I think the Parliament passed a resolution expressing alarm over the deteriorating level of press freedom in the Philippines, citing the cyber libel conviction of Maria Ressa. So again, I would like to reiterate, I think this is an interference in domestic matters. The issue of the case of Maria Ressa has passed through the Philippine judicial system. She was accorded due process. This was not a decision of the executive nor our president. This was a decision coming from the judiciary, which is a co-equal branch. So, Mr. Chair, I really strongly feel that this is, an interference in our domestic affairs and an infringement on our sovereignty, Mr. Chair. So, may we hear...
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I would
Secretary.
call it an attempt to interfere in our internal affairs, but we have repeatedly told them abroad that this is all going through legal processes, and one of our best spokesmen there, and again, he will be our champion, is Justice Secretary Guevara, who explains that it is all going according to the same legal process that happens in such countries as the United States.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
yes, they are attempting to interfere in our internal affairs, and our response to that is you can attempt to interfere, but they will not affect our internal affairs, because the justice system will go on as it has. Because the cases against, for example, Senator De Lima are going through the judicial process. I was confronted by that in the United Nations, and this is what I told them. They said, "Do you know that so many journalists have been killed in the Philippines?" I said, "And what's your problem?" And these UN people said, well, you have not convicted them. I said, well, they are being tried. So, well, then you're not convicted, but you should convict them. Okay, I said, I will give my next speech at the United Nations and say, I will now endeavor to convict these people accused of killing journalists without evidence, just on your say-so. Would you like me to do that? They backed off. These people, they will say anything they want, and the thing is to stand your ground. It's a free world. People can say anything they want. I always say, like, for example, the enemies of the president will say, hey, did you know China said this? That this is their right, that is their right. I said, it's a free world. They can say they own the world. I don't care. But can they enforce that? No. Will I let it go unchallenged? No. The same here. Let them try to interfere with our internal process. What can they do? Really? What can they do? Affect our general tariff preferences? Well, let's see. Because that has to do with bilateral relations or trade relations. And we have their ambassadors in the Philippines, and they will speak up for us. Because so far, we've got along very well with them.
Deputy Fernandez.
Mr. Chairman, interjection lang in relation to what you have talked about, no, about dun sa EU Parliament, no. The one who proposed this resolution and been approved by the European Parliament is si Miss Hannah Newman. Don't you think it is quite proper to declare her persona non grata, considering that she is trying to interfere with our local governance, Mr. Secretary?
She in the Philippines?
Secretary.
Yes, well, that is a political decision. I'm going to ask the president if he would like me to do that. But is this, what's her name? Anna? This individual?
Hannah Newman.
Just asking my experts, can you declare a person persona non grata who is not in the Philippines? Yeah, normally you can't because she couldn't care less what we called her. But I don't care. If that's what you want me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah, kasi Mr. Chairman.
Remember that I will be arguing with these people in Europe and presenting the case for the propriety, the fairness and the of the Philippine legal system. If I retaliate by saying you are now persona non grata, for which that woman will say so, sticks and stones can break
But
my
at
bones.
least, Mr. Secretary,
Sandali po,
The
Deputy
thing is whether
Speaker
I will
Fernandez.
allow myself
Mr. Secretary, yan po ay
dialogue
katanungan ni Deputy Speaker Einstein Fernandez. Pero siyempre, kung ano pa rin ang makakabutis na estratehiya para sa ating bansa, yun pa rin ang dapat nyong gawin. Kasi ang nakasalalay po dito ay daan-daan libong trabaho ng ating mga kababayan na nangangamuhan at nagninegosyo sa Europa. At kailangan po nating isalang-alang yung ating mga kababayan, pero hindi naman pwedeng ibaba yung integridad ng ating bansa dahil dito.
that's the reason why I'm trying to ask this, Mr. Chairman, because if we do nothing, it will be perceived by the different nation in the world that we are lax in trying to check those people who are trying to say bad things against us. And being a strong leader like President Duterte, I think it is just right for us to do something. At least man lang by declaring her as a persona non grata, together with those who have signed this resolution, I think we have made our point, Mr. Chairman. Yun lang naman po sa akin. At least sana magkaroon po ng deklarasyon na katulad ito. Marami po salamat, Mr. Secretary.
Last question, Congressman
If I
Villapuerte.
would like to thank the chairman for his. I always learn so much from these meetings with both houses of Congress. You're right. My first impulse is, of course, to hit back, but then it doesn't hurt them by calling them persona non grata. On the other hand, as the chairman has said, I may hurt my own people. So what I'm going to do instead is to argue with them and say, show me where exactly we have been unfair in the administration of justice. We have actually showed that already. But with people who are really not interested in the truth, they will just continue repeating their lies. The thing is, what do we do? What I don't want is to exclude us from the debate going on the human rights situation in the Philippines. Because that is when we really insult ourselves. Because then you leave the forum to them. I am not afraid of them. I don't need to declare them anything. I can answer them. Now, whether they believe me or not, I am right now working with other responsible countries to establish the human rights credentials of the Philippines. And I'm going to do that. I'm not afraid of these people. I will not exclude them from the debate. If I did, then I'm a coward.
Mr.
But I'm
Chair,
not.
Gabayan ka po, Mr. Secretary, ng ating Panginoon, lalong-lalo na gabayan ka ng ating mga kababayan sa iyong pagtatanggol sa ating bansa, pagharap mo sa iyong mga foreign counterparts, Mr. Secretary. Pagpatuloy mo na po ang iyong huling katanungan, Congressman Villapuerte.
Mr. Chair, Secretary Locsin was a former member of Congress. I think he's a three-termer member of Congress. Gusto ko lang tanungin sa kanya kasi in relation to the European Parliament statement or resolution na dapat raw bigyan ng franchise ang ABS-CBN. While everyone knows that dumaan naman to sa proseso, nag-hearing, nag-desisyon, and tama naman po ang proseso based on the rules. I would just like to ask him, as a member of Congress, what's his comment about this resolution passed by the European Parliament na dapat raw magbigay kami ng prangkisa contrary to what this body has decided on.
Mr. Secretary, as a former member ng
Yes.
Congress, Mr. Secretary.
As not only as a former member, but just as a plain rational person, that the European Union has now gone down to the detail of deciding for us which entity gets a franchise or not, just goes to show that they have descended to the level of stupidity. I mean, I hate to use the word, but really, they are discrediting themselves because they are picking up just anything that the enemies and the critics of Duterte are throwing at our president. You pick that up, and who loses? You think us? The whole world knows what exactly are the prerogatives of a state. But these people are attempting to interfere in every detail of our government, and yet, what exactly is the role of the European Union in our national affairs, in our economy? It's big in the sense of trade. It will affect jobs if we let them do it. But first, I have to show the world that these people who introduced this resolution and even brought up matters as trivial as the ABS-CBN franchise in a European Parliament. My God, they're bringing down that Parliament. Do you know why I say they're bringing down that Parliament? Because when we had our titanic battle with Ferdinand Marcos in the 1986, in the 19 election, the People Power election, the European Parliament was very careful. They were very responsible people. They were not taking sides. They were watching all sides to see who really won the election, who really lost the election. They watched the struggle objectively. And then there was a stalemate. If you will all remember, those who are as old as me at 71 years old, there was a stalemate. Who won the election? At that time, a European Parliament with the dignity not to touch just the most trivial things, but only the biggest issues, suddenly came up with a resolution. The European Parliament declared Cory Aquino the winner of the snap election. See, it counted. Right there, we did not know who to call Your Excellency, Marcos or Cory Aquino. After the European Parliament said that, we could say in front of the media, Your Excellency, would this is what the European Parliament is throwing away. They're trivial concerns. But if that's what they want to do to themselves, fine. Then nobody will listen to them. There are many great issues happening in Europe. There are wars on the eastern side of Europe. There are wars in the Middle East and North Africa that are going to reach Europe, that have already reached Europe. Do they want to discredit the European Parliament by picking up nonsensical issues? Well, that's their problem.
We should not dignify.
So if I were to stoop and say, you're persona non grata, I will dignify this silliness that's going on there. They are discrediting themselves. And it's a pity. There was a time when they played such a great role in history because, without that people power revolution, without that snap election and the outcome, none of us would be sitting in Parliament today, in the Congress today. Not me, not you, not any of the people who became president after Cory Aquino. No one would be. You know who would be in the palace from 1986 on? Possibly Imelda Marcos, possibly another Marcos crony, possibly Marcos general, possibly another Marcos general, possibly the son of another Marcos general. To this day, all of us would be nowhere. But because of that titanic struggle, in which the European Parliament with great dignity intervened in an internal affair with dignity on the right side and said, no, she won. Imagine that. Now, if they want to throw that away, fine. There was once, as I say, once and future king. There was once a time when the European Parliament stood for something. And now, no more. So who destroyed the European Parliament? They want to destroy themselves, that's fine. They want to discredit themselves, that's fine. But we know where we stand. We stand with a president who fights the worst scourge in the world today, the scourge of drugs.
Ang susunod po na magtatanong,
Mr. Chair.
yes, Deputy Speaker Villapuerte.
Mr. Chair, ano na lang, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your comments. I just would like to put on record kasi na these countries, abusado na po. Unang-una, pinagsasabihan nila ang executive branch on how to deal with, on how to properly deal with the human rights issue. Ngayon, pinagsasabihan na po nila ang judicial branch na itapon na kumbaga ibasura na raw ang kaso kay Maria Ressa at ngayon nakikialam na rin sa legislative branch na dapat raw bigyan ng prangkisa. So in reality, while they are interfering in the executive, judicial and legislative branch, baka susunod niyan makialam na sila in our daily lives. So just for the people to note na sumusobra na po itong European Parliament, while we want to continue good relations with them, siguro yung ibang members sa kanila ay masyado nagiging personal. So yan lang po, Mr. Chair, at maraming salamat sa oras and we thank the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Deputy Speaker El Rey Villapuerte. At kung itutuloy-tuloy siguro ng European Parliament yung pakikialam sa Pilipinas, dapat siguro gumawa na rin tayo ng batas para sa kanila, para patas tayo.